Dear listener, welcome to another science story. This is your time to slow down, to breathe in, and gently let go. Tonight, we drift inward into the soft, silent world inside your body. A hidden forest of tiny lives moves gently within. You, whispering in a language of chemistry and calm. These unseen companions shape your hunger, your sleep, your moods, and maybe, just maybe, even your dreams. So close your eyes. Let your thoughts settle like dust in a quiet room. Listen to the story your body has always been telling. Asterisk, asterisk, you begin in the quiet hum of your body, discovering that trillions of invisible lives thrive inside you. Their world is ancient, delicate, and alive with purpose. This is the microbiome, your inner garden, always growing, always whispering. And tonight, you listen for the first time. It begins, as all things do, in silence. Not the absence of sound, but the presence of stillness. The gentle rhythm of your breath. The warmth beneath your ribs. The quiet awareness that something is happening inside you, always and all at once. You place a hand on your belly. You feel movement, not just from food or air or muscle, but from life. A secret world. Inside, you live trillions of microorganisms, tiny, unseen creatures that work in harmony and sometimes in conflict. Bacteria, viruses, fungi, and more, forming communities that shape your health, your energy, your thoughts. Together, they are called the microbiome. And they don't just live in you. They are a part of you. You are not a single being, but a constellation, an ecosystem. Your body is a forest, and they are its caretakers. Every inch of your digestive tract is lined with life. These microbes digest your food, strengthen your immune system, create vitamins, calm your nerves. They are not invaders. They are your oldest companions. You were born nearly sterile, your gut blank like a canvas, but with your first breath, first touch, first drop of milk, you were seeded with life. Microbes from your mother, from the air, from the earth, each one settling into the warm folds of your body. This was the beginning of a lifelong partnership. Some of these bacteria came to protect you. Some came to nourish you. Some merely came to survive. And over the years, their balance shifted. What you ate, how you lived, how much you rested or worried, all of it shaped the terrain inside you. Like rainfall or sunlight shapes a garden. The bacteria are the wildlife, fish, birds, bees, each one playing a role. When the river flows gently, when the banks are clean and the roots are strong, the system thrives. But when pollution seeps in, or drought cracks the soil, things fall out of harmony. This balance or imbalance speaks through your body. You feel it in your mood, your sleep, your appetite, your immunity. You feel it in your energy after a crisp salad, in your fatigue after sugar, in the way your stomach knots under stress. These are not random events. These are messages. The gut has its own nervous system, the enteric nervous system, often called the second brain. But some scientists believe it's not a second brain at all. It might be the first, older, deeper, more instinctual, where you could think, you could feel. And many of those feelings started in your belly. Your microbes speak a chemical language. They send signals to your brain through the vagus nerve, a long winding cable that connects your gut and your mind. When the gut is calm, the messages it sends are like soft lullabies. When it's inflamed or stressed, it screams, and your brain listens. That flutter in your chest before speaking in public. The calm you feel after a warm meal. The fogginess after little sleep. These are not mysteries. These are part of the conversation between your two minds. One of the most important chemicals in this conversation is serotonin, a neurotransmitter that helps regulate mood, sleep, and appetite. Nearly 90% of your serotonin is made not in your brain, but in your gut. Your microbes help produce it. They also assist in making dopamine, GABA, and other messengers that shape how you feel. So when you say you have a gut feeling, you're telling the truth. Your gut is feeling and thinking and remembering, and those feelings ripple up into your mind. Now imagine feeding that system. Imagine what happens when you eat fresh vegetables, fermented foods, whole grains. Fiber becomes food for your microbes, a feast. In return, they produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which reduce inflammation and protect the brain. It's a cycle of giving, but the opposite is true, too. Diets high in sugar, processed food, and artificial ingredients can feed the wrong bacteria, those that produce harmful chemicals, stir up cravings, or fan the flames of anxiety. Your inner garden becomes tangled, overgrown, out of tune. Yet the body is forgiving. The microbiome is adaptable. Even after disruption, antibiotics, illness, long nights of stress, it can rebuild. Like planting seeds after a storm. You just have to give it what it needs. Time, rest, nourishment. Your microbiome also trains your immune system. It helps your body distinguish between friend and foe. It communicates through immune cells, guiding how you respond to threats. Gut teaches tolerance. An imbalanced one triggers overreaction, inflammation, allergies, even mood disorders. Asterisk, asterisk, and so. Your mood is not just emotion, it is chemistry. And that chemistry begins in your belly. You might ask, how can something so small, bacteria, affect something so vast, the mind? But life is like that. Small things hold great power. A single seed becomes a forest. A single smile changes a day. A single microbe shifts a mood when you walk in nature. Touch the soil, eat fermented foods, breathe deeply, sleep well. You are tending the garden within. You are not just caring for your body. You are feeding your peace. The modern world often disconnects us. We forget the rhythms of nature, of slowness, of listening. But your microbiome remembers. It remembers what harmony feels like. And when you live in tune, it sings back. There's something magical about the way your body and your microbes grow together. When you are stressed, they shift. When you are joyful, they flourish. Your inner world reflects your outer life. It mirrors your seasons. The more you care for it, the more it blooms. And the beauty of this relationship is that it is never too late to begin. You can change your gut. You can feed the good bacteria, water the inner soil, plant seeds of peace. Even the smallest changes, a glass of water, a moment of rest, a nourishing meal can begin to restore balance. Every part of you wants harmony. Your body was built for balance. The microbiome doesn't seek control, it seeks cooperation, a shared rhythm, a mutual trust. The better you treat it, the better it treats you. And now, as you lie still in the quiet of night, you may begin to sense it, that soft hum in your belly, that gentle awareness. You are not a collection of disconnected parts. You are one living, breathing, flowing system, vibrant and whole. So tonight, as you rest, imagine that song. Imagine each cell humming, each bacteria dancing, each signal flowing smoothly. You are not a machine. You are a meadow, a rainforest, a living poem. This is only the beginning of the story. Ahead lies the golden thread that ties this world to your thoughts, the vagus nerve, the great communicator. But before we follow that thread, let this truth settle in. You are never alone inside yourself. You are a host, a home, a harmony asterisk, asterisk. From your belly to your brain runs a golden thread, the vagus nerve. It listens and speaks, carrying silent messages between your two thinking centers. Every gurgle and flutter could be a sentence from your microbes. You begin to wonder how much of your mind is shaped by your gut. You lie still, resting in the softness of night. The last echoes of your belly's hum still blooming in your awareness. In the hush that follows, you begin to notice something else. Not sound, not thought, but a thread, a current, a connection you hadn't realized was always there. It stretches upward, quietly, like a vine of light, delicate, alive, rising from your abdomen toward your heart, through your chest, into your throat, and finally into the base of your brain. This, you are learning, is the vagus nerve, not a rope, but a river flowing both ways, not a command center, but a conversation, one that never stops, even while you sleep. A dialogue written in pulses and signals, chemistry and electricity, feelings and flutters. The word vagus means wandering in Latin, and it lives up to its name. This nerve wanders like a traveler through your body, touching your heart, your lungs, your stomach, your liver. It listens to your breath. It tunes into your gut. It sings to your brain. You've always known, somewhere deep inside, that your body and mind are not separate. But tonight, the truth becomes clearer. You are not a mind that happens to have a body. You are a body that feels and thinks and remembers through many kinds of knowing. The vagus nerve is the great connector. It is how your microbiome whispers to your thoughts. It's how your stomach says, "I'm calm," or "I'm afraid," without a single word. It's how your heart slows when you exhale. How your body tells your brain, "You are safe now." And just as your brain can send messages down to speed up your heart, to tense your muscles, your gut can send messages upward. These messages don't speak in language, but in sensation, in peace, in rest, in a quiet shift in mood you can't quite explain. Imagine this thread inside you, golden and warm, humming gently. With every breath, it listens. With every beat of your heart, it speaks. This is not a metaphor. This is anatomy, real, present, and alive. When your vagus nerve is healthy and strong, your body knows how to return to calm. After a stressor, it knows how to settle. After a scare, it knows how to soothe. But when the vagus nerve is neglected, overwhelmed, or inflamed, that conversation becomes a monologue. One part shouting, the other silent. Many of us live with a quieted vagus. Constant stress, poor sleep, processed food, shallow breath. All of these things dim its voice. The thread becomes tangled, the messages blurred. You may feel anxious for no reason, tired despite rest, unsettled without a cause. But these are not failures. These are signals, gentle requests for RECONNECT. Begin to learn the language of the vagus. It doesn't use words. It speaks. Through the body, through tears that come uninvited, through a sigh that escapes your chest, through the stillness you crave when the world is too loud. It speaks through your tone of voice, your heartbeat, your digestion, through the urge to curl inward when you're overwhelmed. And the more you notice, the clearer the messages become. you find that humming helps. So does hummingbird breath, slow, long exhales. Laughter, too, is a kind of vagus massage. Singing, crying, gargling, cold water on your face. All of these awaken the nerve that helps you come home to yourself. Science shows us that stimulating the vagus nerve gently, naturally, helps reduce anxiety, improve digestion, calm inflammation, and regulate mood. But you don't need machines. You need moments, moments of safety, moments of stillness, moments of slow. You begin to feel how much your inner state shapes your outer world. The vagus nerve reminds you, calm is not the absence of action. It is the foundation of wise action. When the body feels safe, the mind opens. When the body is soothed, the heart softens. When the thread is clear, your whole self listens. And this thread does not only run inside you, it echoes outward. When you speak gently to someone, their vagus nerve responds. Safety is contagious. So is peace. This is not philosophy. This is physiology. You are wired to connect, to calm, to co-regulate. Even animals use this system. A dog curls beside you, and both your nervous systems slow. The forest speaks vagus. So does the ocean. So does the wind. There's a reason why silence feels safe, why rhythm comforts you. These are all part of the vagus thread, tuning your system, balancing the chorus of bacteria and neurons and cells. And still, this golden nerve carries more than peace. It carries your story, your body's history. Every time you weren't, every stress you swallowed, every joy you felt deeply, your vagus nerve has recorded it all, not as memory, but as pattern. But patterns can change. Just as the microbiome can heal, so too can this thread be retuned. You begin again with the breath, with the slow sigh, with the hand on the chest, with the permission to feel. You are not broken. You are rewiring. As you rest deeper into your body, you feel how your gut and brain speak to each other like old friends. They don't always agree, but they always respond. This is why a single thought can upset your stomach, why a gentle meal can lift your mood. The vagus nerve is the bridge. And that bridge is alive with electricity. Even now, as you lie still, that conversation continues. Your microbiome sending signals, your brain adjusting rhythms, your breath guiding tone. Every moment, a message. You begin to wonder how many decisions have been shaped by your body's wisdom. How many moments of intuition, of insight, of hesitation came not from logic, but from the deep knowledge of your gut and the golden thread that carries its voice. Perhaps you are listening to the chorus within. And perhaps that listening is the most intelligent thing of all. The vagus nerve reminds you, healing does not shout. It whispers, and so tonight you listen. You listen to the breath, to the beat, to the soft hum rising from your belly to your mind. You do not need to understand it all. You only need to be present for it, to notice, to soften, to allow. The story of the vagus nerve is not a tale of control. It is a lesson in surrender, in connection, in remembering that your body already knows the way back to calm. And as you lie there, warm and still, you feel it, the golden thread pulsing quietly, alive, trustworthy, ready to guide you. Moment by moment, back to yourself. This story is not over. It continues in the cells of your immune system, where the microbiome and nervous system meet again, shaping how you respond to the world outside by first listening to the world within. But that is a story for another time. Chapter 3. Serotonin in your stomach. You once believed happiness lived only in the brain. But tonight, you learn that joy begins in the gut. Most of your serotonin, the feel-good chemical, is born in the shadows of your stomach. And perhaps your mood is more microbial than you knew. The story of the vagus nerve is not a tale of control. It is a lesson in surrender, in connection, in remembering that your body already knows the way back to calm. And as you lie there, warm and still, you feel it, the golden thread pulsing quietly, alive, trustworthy, ready to guide you, moment by moment, back to yourself. It continues in the cells of your immune system, where the microbiome and nervous system meet again, shaping how you respond to the world outside by first listening to the world within. But that is a story for another time. So now you return to the place where it all begins, your gut. But this time you listen differently. Not just for survival, not just for function, but for something deeper, something bright, something joyful. You place your hand again on your abdomen and you wonder, could happiness really begin here? Inside you, in the winding, silent corridors of your intestines, something extraordinary happens every moment of every day. In this soft, shadowed world where trillions of microbes murmur their molecular secrets, your body produces serotonin, a neurotransmitter long believed to belong only to your brain. But nearly 90% of your serotonin is made not above your shoulders, but beneath your ribs, in the gut, among the folds of your digestive tract, in the lining of your intestines. Tiny specialized cells work closely with your microbiome to create this chemical messenger. And not just create, balance, refine. Serotonin has many jobs. It regulates mood. It affects sleep. It shapes appetite. It guides digestion. It helps your blood clot. But more than its list of functions, serotonin is a feeling, a lift, a light, a sense that all is well, even for a moment. You discover that this light is born in the darkness of your belly. You may wonder, how can something so emotional, so human, be rooted in the microbes of your gut? But the truth is, emotion and biology are not separate. They are twins, raised in the same house, learning the same language. Imagine your gut lining as a field of wildflowers. Among these, there are tiny cells called enterochromophene cells. They bloom not with petals, but with purpose. These are the cells that produce serotonin, releasing it into your gut in response to signals from food, from microbes, from the gentle flow of your breath. Your microbiome, that teeming forest of life, plays a key role here. Help stimulate serotonin production. Others influence how it moves, how it signals, how it shapes your mood. They do this not with thought or intention, but with chemistry. They speak in molecules, in whispers of hydrogen and carbon in the silent, songs of enzymes, and you feel it, not as science, but as sensation. A lift in your spirit after a nourishing meal, a wave of calm after a long walk in nature, a sense of safety after laughter. All these are moments when your gut and your brain dance and serotonin plays the melody. But what happens when that music is out of tune? When the microbiome is disrupted by antibiotics, poor diet, chronic stress, serotonin levels can fall. And with it, your mood. You might feel anxious, heavy, withdrawn. Not because something is wrong with you, but because the garden inside you needs tending. This is not about blame. It is about awareness. It is about understanding that joy is not only an idea. It is a process, a partnership, a conversation between you and your inner world. You begin to see how your choices, what you eat, how you breathe, how you sleep, all echo in the chambers of your belly. And those echoes rise, carried by the vagus nerve, to your mind. Fermented foods, yogurt, kefir, kimchi, bring friendly bacteria that support serotonin's song. Fibrous foods, oats, bananas, greens, feed the microbes that keep your gut strong. Movement, deep breathing, touch, nature, all nurture this system like sunlight on the soil. You are not helpless in your moods. You are not at the mercy of chemicals you can't control. You are the gardener. You are the listener. You are the environment in which serotonin blooms, and just as serotonin lifts your mood, it also stabilizes it. It helps you feel more like yourself. Not ecstatic, not numb, but balanced, present, able to move through joy and sorrow alike, with grace. It's important to know serotonin in the gut doesn't cross into the brain directly, but it sets the stage. System, it affects how the brain responds. It changes the tone of the conversation. You might think of serotonin like a weather pattern. It doesn't choose your thoughts, but it colors them. On a day of soft sun, even shadows feel less heavy. On a day when serotonin flows freely, life feels a little kinder. And that weather is shaped, in part, by your microbes. Scientists now speak of the gut as a sensory organ, not just a tube for digestion, but a place of feeling. It responds to touch, to texture, to emotion. It remembers trauma. It welcomes comfort. And serotonin is one of its ways of speaking. You might recall moments when your stomach responded before your brain, a flutter before good news, a tightness before danger, a deep calm when held. These are not just poetic ideas. These are your body's truths. And serotonin lives in the middle of them. As you lie there, listening to the gentle sounds within, you begin to imagine your gut as more than a place. It is a character in your story, a quiet, steady friend, one who has always worked for your peace, one who asks only for rhythm, nourishment, and rest. You begin to thank it, not with words, but with awareness, with soft breath, with presence. You learn to trust the signals that rise from your core, to honor the wisdom that lives below thought. In time, your mood becomes less of a mystery. You feel the patterns, you notice the shifts, and you respond not with fear, but with care. You drink water, you eat kindly, you move gently. You pause, and through it all, serotonin flows, not like a switch, but like a stream, rising and falling with the seasons of your life. Tonight, you remember that happiness is not only a thought, it is also a chemical, a rhythm, a response. And it begins quietly, beautifully, in the depths of your belly. The story doesn't end here. Serotonin has sisters and brothers, dopamine, GABA, acetylcholine, each with their own song. And they too are shaped by the gut, by your breath, by your food, by your sleep, by your story. But that exploration awaits. For now, let this one truth settle into your being. Your joy is not separate from your body. It is born in the soil of your gut, nourished by your choices, and carried on a golden thread straight to your heart. Asterisk, asterisk, as you drift toward sleep, your microbes stay awake. They shape your dreams with chemicals, memories, and rhythms. Your rest is not yours alone. It's a symphony, co-written by your unseen companions. Sleep is the bridge between your two minds, the conscious and the microbial. You remember the final truth from before. Your joy is not separate from your body. It is born in the soil of your gut, nourished by your choices, and carried on a golden thread straight to your heart. Tonight, that same thread begins to shimmer again, not upward toward your thoughts, but inward toward your dreams. Sleep begins in the shadows, not with the closing of your eyes, but with the quiet turning down of your inner lights. Your breath slows, your heartbeat softens, and beneath it all, the trillions of tiny organisms inside you shift into a new rhythm, their own form of twilight. You've never noticed it before, but your microbiome does not sleep when you do. In fact, it becomes more active. Like the night workers of a city, your gut bacteria begin cleaning, building, signaling, preparing your body for the restoration only sleep can bring. Their actions send pulses through your nervous system. These pulses travel to your brain and help regulate your sleep cycle. You're not just falling asleep, you're entering a shared ritual, a nightly dance, one written in neurotransmitters and electrical waves, in hormones and microbial messages. One of those messages is melatonin. You may know it as the sleep hormone, the one that tells your body when it's time to rest. But what you may not know is that much of your melatonin is produced not in your brain, but in your gut. In the same lining that cradles serotonin, melatonin is born as night falls. It is your microbes who help regulate it. They shape its production. They time its release. They whisper, not in language, but in chemistry. It's time to let go now. And so, your body listens. You yawn. Your muscles loosen. Your eyelids grow heavy. All because a network of invisible life inside you is guiding the descent into sleep. This is not an accident. This is not small. It is orchestration, a lullaby beneath awareness. As you enter the first layer of sleep, the surface world begins to blur, but your inner world sharpens. Gut and brain continue to speak, even as consciousness fades. Waves of signals cross the blood-brain barrier. Your microbes help shape these waves, delta, theta, the gentle rhythms of rest. Some bacteria even follow a circadian rhythm, a 24-hour internal clock. Just like you, they have a sense of day and night. Their patterns align with yours, and when those rhythms are in sync, your sleep becomes deeper, more restoring, more whole. You realize now that your sleep is not a shutdown. It's a shift, a rebalancing. a sacred time when your inner systems work in quiet collaboration. Microbes help modulate cortisol, the stress hormone. When in balance, cortisol rises in the morning and falls at night. But when your microbiome is disrupted, cortisol can spike at the wrong times, keeping you restless, uneasy, awake when you long for peace. That feeling, lying in bed with a racing mind, is not just psychological. It may be microbial, a sign that your gut is out of rhythm and your body is struggling to find the night. But the reverse is also true. A healthy microbiome helps the body follow its natural cadence. The right bacteria lower inflammation, stabilize mood, quiet the nervous system. They are like a bedtime story written in molecules. A story that says, "You are safe now." Sleep in this soft darkness, your dreams begin. And even here, the microbiome plays a role. It may not create the images, the strange loops of narrative, but it sets the emotional tone. It shapes your brain's chemistry, your sensitivity to memory, your perception of safety or danger. When your gut is balanced, your dreams often feel softer, more coherent. You wake up with clarity or even joy. When your gut is distressed, dreams can be chaotic, disjointed, your sleep lighter, your waking heavier. Some scientists believe that the microbiome may even influence the vividness of dreams, not directly, but through its effects on brain chemistry and immune regulation. Others suggest that the gut helps sort emotional memory during REM sleep. This, too, is a mystery in motion, a quiet study still unfolding. But your body already knows the feeling. The calm after a day of good food, good air, good laughter. The way you sleep after a walk in the forest, after a gentle meal. Your gut remembers, and it thanks you with rest. You wonder, could it be that your dreams are not entirely your own? Could they be co-authored? Could the characters and colors that visit you at night be influenced by tiny beings who live inside you? Perhaps that is not such a strange idea. After all, these microbes live in your body from birth. They shape your appetite, your immune response, your stress levels. Why not your dreams? You begin to trust that rest is not passive. It is active. It is sacred. It is your body and your microbiome writing together. A shared story of letting go. You may have heard the phrase, gut feeling. That flicker of knowing, that inner compass. But now, you feel something even subtler. Gut dreaming. Not a thought, not a hunch, but a sensation of meaning rising from the deep. Some researchers are exploring the link between disrupted microbiomes and sleep disorders, insomnia, sleep apnea, even restless leg syndrome. And though much is still unknown, early findings suggest that improving gut health can help restore not just digestion, but deep, restful sleep. This is not magic. This is biology. This is you, remembering that your body is built for balance. That your gut is not just a system, it is a partner in your peace, even your immune system, which stays active during sleep, is informed by your microbiome. It learns. While you rest, it sorts data, it rehearses protection. And your microbes help direct this learning. Tonight, as you sleep, tiny signals ripple through you. Messages from microbes to neurons to immune cells. A silent concert of coordination. A kind of dreaming that happens below awareness. The body dreaming itself whole again. This is why deep rest is healing. It's not just a break. It's a rebuilding. Your gut lining restores. Your brain clears waste. Your emotional memories are sorted, softened, sometimes rewoven, and your microbes. They are right there, tuning the instruments. So you breathe. Little deeper, you feel the pillow beneath your head. You surrender a little more to the weight of the covers. And inside, a world you cannot see continues its work, lovingly, wisely. Tirelessly, you begin to think of yourself differently, not as a single being, but as a collective, a galaxy of life, all working toward balance. And sleep is how that galaxy rests. It is humbling. It is beautiful. It is real. So, tonight, let yourself fall. Let go of needing to know everything. Let go of trying to hold it all together. Trust the part of you that has always known how to rest. Trust the bacteria that lull you into sleep, and let the dreams come, for they, too, are a form of listening, a form of remembering, a form of healing. Asterisk, asterisk, your microbes speak in molecules. Soft messages called postbiotics. Some soothe inflammation, others spark alertness or calm. One molecule, butyrate, is like a lullaby for your nerves. You begin to recognize the quiet language of balance. You awaken from the world of dreams, not with noise, but with stillness. A stillness that hums beneath the skin. Something soft, unseen, still working. The microbial world inside you never truly sleeps. It only shifts roles. And this morning, after a night of healing, it begins to speak again. But this time, it doesn't use dreams. It doesn't speak in serotonin or melatonin. Today, it chooses a new language. The language of postbiotics, the soft molecules that float like notes in a symphony, carrying messages from your gut to the farthest reaches of your being. Postbiotics are not bacteria themselves. They are what bacteria make. The afterglow, the echo, when microbes break down fibers and prebiotics in your gut, they release a set of chemical compounds, gentle, purposeful, precise. These are postbiotics, and their work is subtle but powerful. You may never feel them as clearly as a heartbeat or a breath, but they are there, in every cell, in every tissue, sending quiet instructions: calm down, heal, rest, repair. One of the most important postbiotics is butyrate, a short-chain fatty acid born from the fermentation of dietary fiber. Butyrate doesn't shout, it hums. It is the chemical equivalent of a warm bath, a soft blanket, a quiet exhale. Its presence in your gut reduces inflammation, nourishes your colon, and even communicates with your brain. Imagine butyrate as a lullaby, sung not in sensation. It rocks your nervous system gently. It lowers stress hormones. It supports the protective lining of your gut wall, like a tender gardener mending fences after a storm. This is not small work. This is maintenance, survival, harmony, and butyrate is just one of many. There are hundreds, perhaps thousands, of other postbiotic molecules, each with a different message. Some instruct immune cells to stand down, reducing chronic inflammation. Others tell your liver to detoxify, or your brain to relax, or your tissues to regenerate. You are not aware of these commands, but your body is. Your cells are fluent in this language. They have listened to it since before you were born. Science only recently gave this language a name, and even now we are only beginning to translate it. But your body has always known its meaning, and your microbes have always been fluent speakers. These messages don't just travel within the gut. They ride through the bloodstream, touching the lungs, the skin, the brain. You are a body held together not by silence, but by whispers, molecular words that tune you toward balance. You begin to understand health differently, not as perfection, not as control, but as communication, as inner conversation. A well-tuned body is not one that never gets sick. It is one that knows how to listen, how to respond, how to return. But for this inner language to flourish, your microbes must be fed. They live not on sugar or chemicals, but on fiber, on roots and stalks and seeds. Greens, every bite you take, can be a kind of nourishment, not just for you, but for the life within you. And when that life is fed, it responds. Postbiotics bloom like flowers after rain. Messages emerge. Healing begins. You begin to notice what you once overlooked, the feeling of calm after a wholesome meal, the ease in your stomach after fermented food, the lightness in your body after rest. These are not accidents. These are answers. You've learned to see food not just as fuel, but as dialogue. Every meal is a conversation starter. Every fiber, a letter to your microbes. And every postbiotic is a reply, a thoughtful, biochemical love letter back. There are times when this language becomes disrupted. Antibiotics, illness, processed foods, chronic stress, these things don't just harm the microbes, they distort the message. The words become static. Confusion replaces clarity. Inflammation rises. Language can be relearned with rest, with nourishment, with attention. Some postbiotics influence mood directly. They cross the blood-brain barrier and interact with receptors that shape anxiety, depression, even focus. Others act indirectly, calming inflammation, which itself can affect brain chemistry. The line between body and mind blurs. You are reminded again, there is no line at all. You are not two separate things. You are one interconnected, whispering whole. Researchers have found that butyrate can improve memory in mice, that it supports brain plasticity, the ability to learn, to change, to grow. And while these studies are young, they carry an old truth. Your mind and your microbes are partners. Your thoughts are not alone. Appetite, blood sugar, and even the way fat is stored in your body. This isn't about dieting. It's about rhythm. About tuning your inner systems back into harmony. You begin to listen more deeply, not just to your hunger, but to your satisfaction. Not just to your cravings, but to your calm. You begin to notice when your body feels aligned and when it feels off. And when it's off. You don't judge. You inquire. You ask, what might be missing from this inner conversation? What do my microbes need in order to speak clearly again? You find answers in the earth. You find answers in routine, in breath, in stillness. You find them in the slow art of noticing. Postbiotics are not loud teachers. They are quiet guides. Their power is not in their volume, but in their subtlety. And your power lies in your willingness to listen. Even now, as you lie still, your microbes are speaking. Instructions are being carried from one world to another, from bacteria to brain, from gut to gland, from whisper to wisdom. You begin to feel not just healthy, but held, not just rested, but restored. Because your body is not waiting for you to heal. It is already healing, one molecule at a time. And all it asks is that you make space, that you nourished the conversation, that you return to balance, not through force, but through invitation. You close your eyes again, not to escape the world, but to enter it more deeply. You feel the silence between your breaths. You feel the warmth in your belly. You feel the echoes of 1,000 tiny voices saying, all is well. and you believe them. The language of postbiotics is quiet, but it is true. It is not about controlling your body. It is about understanding it. It is not about fixing what's broken. It is about remembering what already works. You drift gently into that remembering now, and somewhere, far beneath your awareness, another message is being sent from your gut to your immune system, but that is a story for another time. Asterisk. Your gut microbes don't just digest food, they manage your immune system. And your immune system, in turn, shapes your feelings. Cytokines, small immune messengers, rise and fall with your emotional tides. Inside your belly, storms and sunlight are born. You close your eyes again, not to escape the world, but to enter it more deeply. You feel the silence between your breaths. You feel the warmth in your belly. You feel the echoes of 1,000 tiny voices saying, "All is well." And you believe them. But far beneath that calm, another conversation begins. One that shapes your immunity, your emotions, your very sense of being. You might think of your immune system as a warrior, always on guard. But tonight, you learn to see it as a listener, a translator, a wise weather system that adjusts its mood according to what your gut tells it. This is not a battlefield. It is a negotiation between what lives inside you and what surrounds. You, your microbiome, that hidden garden within, is the first to sense when something shifts. A pathogen, a piece of food, and they whisper to your immune cells, "It's okay," or "Be alert," or sometimes sound the alarm. These whispers are not in words, but in molecules. Tiny messengers called cytokines begin to rise. Interleukins, interferons, tumor necrosis factors, they sound harsh, but they are gentle signals. They are the first winds of weather inside your body. You may not hear them, but you feel them in the ache behind your eyes, in the way your body stiffens, in the tiredness that settles without reason, in the mood that shifts like clouds rolling in. These are immune feelings, emotional forecasts written in cells. When your immune system is balanced, the weather is mild, clear skies, steady temperature. Your thoughts are smooth, your emotions soft. But when imbalance creeps in from poor sleep, processed food, prolonged stress, the clouds gather. Cytokines rise, and your emotional weather changes. This isn't metaphor, it's physiology. Studies have shown that elevated levels of inflammatory cytokines are linked to depression, anxiety, even brain fog. Your mind doesn't exist in isolation. It floats in a sea of chemistry. And that chemistry is shaped by your immune system's inner climate. Your microbes help regulate this. They produce molecules that calm inflammation. They train your immune cells to recognize friend from foe. They help your system avoid overreaction. Without them, your immune system becomes like a startled animal, tense, reactive, unsure. But with them, it learns nuance. It learns timing. It learns peace. You begin to see emotions differently, not just as thoughts, but as weather patterns, rising and falling with the tides of your body. And the immune system, with its cytokines and cells, becomes your inner meteorologist, constantly adjusting, constantly translating your inner and outer worlds. Sometimes the inflammation is subtle, a background hum, a restlessness, a drop in patience. Other times it flares in a cold, in a headache, in a wave of irritation you can't explain. You learn to ask, what message is my body trying to send? You remember that sadness has texture, that anxiety has temperature, that anger can feel like heat in the chest. These are not just emotional metaphors. They are real responses. The immune system does not only fight invaders, it helps you interpret the world. And just as it listens to your microbes, it listens to your thoughts. Chronic worry can raise cytokines. Harsh self-talk can tighten tissues. But calm breath, gentle words, moments of gratitude, they reduce inflammation. Your thoughts can be medicine, or they can be storms. Your microbes are like weather forecasters, reading the data of your diet, your breath, your rest, and they respond with precision. When you eat fiber-rich food, when you breathe deeply, when you rest, they send messages to your immune system that all is well, and the clouds part. Even loneliness affects this dialogue. Studies show that people who feel isolated have different immune responses, more inflammation, slower healing. And again, the gut is involved. Your microbes are shaped by your social life, by touch, by connection, by laughter. So your immune system is not just a defense, it's a reflection of how safe you feel, of how connected you are, of how listened to you allow yourself to be. You begin to treat your emotions like weather, not problems, but patterns, not enemies, but signals. You don't judge the storm, you observe it, you wait, you learn, and you support the system behind it. The garden, the microbiome, the messengers. You nourish the roots so that the sky can clear. Sometimes the most healing thing is not to solve, but to soften. Not to fix, but to flow. You begin to offer your immune system what it needs: rest, fiber, laughter, connection, breath, and slowly, the tides shift. The inner forecast changes. You feel it in your chest, in your mood, in your dreams. There is an intelligence inside you that does not speak in language. It speaks in feelings. in fevers, in tears, in calm. And every part of that intelligence is shaped by the dialogue between your microbes and your immune system. Even now, as you lie still, that conversation continues. Signals rise, not in panic, but in balance. Cytokines circulate. Cells listen. Microbes respond. You are not alone in your emotions. They are co-written by you and the many lives within you. You rest now, not just as one person, but as a collective, as a village, as an ecosystem returning to balance. And as you drift deeper, another truth rises. The foods you choose, the stress you release, the breaths you take, they all shape this immune dialogue. They all write the weather report you begin to trust. Your inner atmosphere, to read it, to support it, to let it change without fear. Because just beyond the immune system, another world waits, the world of hormones, messengers that shape time itself within you, that guide your rhythms, your appetite, your energy, your sleep, and perhaps, just perhaps, the seasons within you are not random, but orchestrated. This orchestra is still playing, and you are listening. And somewhere in the quiet hum of your body, your white blood cells float like wise travelers. They remember old invaders. They hold stories in their molecular hands. Stories of healing, of battles survived, of peace restored. These memories shape how you react to new challenges. Just like your mind remembers heartbreak or joy, your immune system remembers health and harm. So when you feel a sudden shift, a tightness in the chest, a sluggish morning, a flutter of sadness, it might not be random. It might be a cellular memory asking to be seen, asking to be heard, asking you to care. Your immune system isn't separate from your story. It is part of your autobiography. It has chapters, patterns, echoes, and healing begins not just with medicine, but with presence. You begin to notice what brings you calm. The softness of a blanket, the warmth of a pet curled by your feet, the laugh of a friend echoing in your memory. These are not distractions. These are immunological events. They matter. They soothe. You are not fragile. You are responsive. That's a gift. Sensitivity is not weakness. It is awareness. And awareness is how the immune system learns. So tonight, you breathe deeper, not to force change, but to allow it. You welcome whatever weather you are in. You wrap your arms around the storm and say, I'm listening, because your body is always trying to come back to balance. Not perfection, but peace. Not control, but harmony, and this harmony, this dance of cells, of signals, of microbes and memory is your birthright. So lie there, still open, curious, and know that healing does not mean fixing everything. Sometimes it means feeling everything. The dialogue between your immune system and your emotions is not a monologue. It is a relationship. And, like all relationships, it needs gentleness, time, and trust. And, as you drift, this trust grows, quietly, tenderly. You are held by your body, by your breath, by the conversation happening in every cell. And just ahead, the hormones rise, not to replace this story, but to deepen it. Chapter 7: Feeding the Mind Through the Belly. The food you eat isn't just fuel. It's conversation. Fiber feeds kindness. Sugar wakes anxiety. Prebiotics and probiotics are like tending to delicate friendships. You begin to taste not just flavors, but feelings. And this harmony, this dance of cells, of signals, of microbes and memory is your birthright. So lie there, still, open, curious, and know that healing does not mean fixing everything. Sometimes it means feeling everything. The dialogue between your immune system and your emotions is not a monologue. It is a relationship, and like all relationships, it needs gentleness, time, and trust. And as you drift, this trust grows. Quietly, tenderly, you are held by your body, by your breath, by the conversation happening in every cell. And just ahead, the hormones rise, not to replace this story, but to deepen it. But before you meet those messengers of rhythm and change, you must walk a path lined with choices. The small, daily offerings you give your gut, your mind, your mood. Food, simple, mundane, sacred. You think of food as energy, something you burn. But tonight, you learn to see it as information, as music. Each bite hums a note that your microbes hear, that your gut translates, that your brain absorbs. When you eat sugar, your body hears alarm bells, a sudden burst of energy followed by confusion. When you eat fiber, it hears calm, a slow, steady rhythm. Sugar is a shout. Fiber is a song. And your microbes, those unseen composers, respond accordingly. They bloom when you feed them. Plants, colors, fibers. They shrink and stumble when fed a monotony of processed meals. You are not just feeding your body. You are shaping your inner ecosystem with every mouthful. Prebiotics are the unsung heroes. They don't get the fame of superfoods or supplements, but they are powerful, complex plant fibers that feed your good. Bacteria, garlic, onions, asparagus, bananas, oats. These are not just foods, they are gifts. Letters of love to your microbial family. And then there are the probiotics, living organisms that you invite in like trusted guests. In yogurt, in kefir, in fermented vegetables. When welcomed properly, they settle in and whisper balance into the gut. But this isn't about rigid rules or perfect meals. It's about rhythm, flow, understanding that your choices shape your mental weather, that your breakfast can influence your resilience, that your lunch can sculpt your calm. You remember how a heavy meal made you foggy, how a bright salad made you feel light. It wasn't in your head, it was in your belly. The neurotransmitters, the microbes, the chemical symphony adjusting to your choices, and it goes deeper. Some foods reduce inflammation: turmeric, berries, leafy greens. Others stoke the flames: fried oils, excess sugar, refined flours. Each choice is a brushstroke on the canvas of your inner world. You begin to listen to your cravings with curiosity, not judgment. A craving for sugar might be a microbe out of balance, shouting for its favorite fuel. A longing for crunch might be your nervous system seeking grounding. You ask gently, "What do I really need right now?" You realize that emotional eating is not weakness, it's communication, a dialogue. And when you meet it with awareness, you can respond with kindness, with choices that honor both body and soul. The gut-brain axis is a bridge, and food is the traveler. Some foods cross easily, soothing the mind. Others stumble, causing disruption. But you are the gatekeeper. You choose what enters. You choose what stays. You see meals not as obligations, but as rituals, a chance to recalibrate, to send a message to your entire system. You are cared for. You are nourished. You are safe. The act of chewing becomes sacred. It slows you down, activates enzymes, prepares your gut to receive. Digestion begins, not in the stomach, but in the mind, with awareness, with gratitude, with presence, even. How you eat matters. Fast bites, eaten in stress, signal danger. Slow bites, eaten with ease, signal safety. And your microbes, always listening, respond to that tone. You learn that food is never just about calories. It's about chemicals, about messages, about history. Every culture has foods that heal: broths, teas, spices, soups. They are not myths. They are wisdom encoded in generations. And the modern world, with its fast food and faster lives, often forgets this. But you remember. You bring back the slowness, the intention, the knowing that your gut is not a garbage bin. It is a garden. Gardens need variety, diversity, no monocultures. The more colors on your plate, the more species in your belly. And diversity in the gut is linked to resilience in the mind. So you paint your meals with rainbows, red peppers, golden turmeric, green spinach, purple cabbage. Each hue feeds a different microbe. Each bite adds to your inner chorus. And as your microbes grow in richness, your mind grows in steadiness. You notice fewer crashes, fewer spirals, more clarity, more light. This isn't about perfection. It's about partnership between you and the lives within you, between your fork and your feelings, between your choices and your chemistry. You begin to see food as self-talk. Will this bite bring calm or chaos? Will this meal build a foundation of peace or trigger a storm? You start small, a spoon of yogurt, a handful of nuts, a sprinkle of seeds, a sip of tea. These are not trends, they are threads woven into the story of your healing. You respect your appetite. You notice your fullness. You honor your hunger. You stop when satisfied, not stuffed. You listen, not to a diet, but to your own wisdom, and you forgive the days you forget, the times you eat in hurry, the moments of imbalance, because this, too, is life, and your body is forgiving. Your microbes are patient. They rebuild. They remember. In the quiet after dinner, you feel it, the gentle hum in your gut, the fermentation, the transformation, the silent celebration of nourishment. You imagine your microbes dancing, sorting, processing, sending messages up the vagus nerve to say, "Thank you. We are well," and your mind, once anxious, softens. Your heart, once hurried, slows. Your breath deepens. You understand now that food is not a reward or a punishment. It is language, love, chemistry, conversation. You feed your mind through your belly, and that changes everything. As you drift toward rest, you feel the connection between what you chew and what you choose, between what you digest and what you feel, between what enters your mouth and what enters your mind. You are the author of this dialogue, and each day you write a new page. Ahead lies another story, the rhythm of hormones, the internal tides that guide hunger, sleep, desire, and peace. But for now, let your gut rest in gratitude. Let your microbes settle in harmony. Let your mind taste the quiet. Chapter 8: Cortisol and the gut's alarm bell. Stress rings a silent alarm in your gut. Cortisol floods your body, but your bacteria can hush or heighten the sound. When your gut is calm, your brain listens. Tonight, you ask, can peace begin with digestion? You feed your mind through your belly, and that changes everything. You drift toward rest. You feel the connection between what you chew and what you choose, between what you digest and what you feel, between what enters your mouth and what enters your mind. You are the author of this dialogue, and each day you write a new page. Ahead lies another story, the rhythm of hormones, the internal tides that guide hunger, sleep, desire, and peace. But for now, let your gut rest in gratitude. Let your microbes settle in harmony. Let your mind taste the quiet, but quiet doesn't always last. Sometimes, without warning, stress knocks on the door. Not loud at first, just a ripple, a tightening in the chest, a thought that doesn't leave, a pace that quickens without your consent. Your body knows this feeling. It's ancient. In response, your adrenal glands release a hormone called cortisol. It is not an enemy. It is a signal, a call to mobilize, to respond, to protect. Cortisol sharpens your focus. It readies your muscles. It diverts energy from digestion, from healing, from sleep, and sends it to your heart, your lungs, your limbs, just in case you need to run. But what if you're not being chased? What if the danger is imagined? A deadline, a comment, a memory. Your body doesn't always know the difference. And so, cortisol rises and rises and rises, and here, the gut feels it most. Blood flow is reduced. Digestive juices slow. The environment becomes less hospitable for your microbes. Their diversity shrinks. Their voices soften. And in that silence, imbalance grows. This is the hidden cost of stress. It doesn't just live in your head. It echoes in your stomach. It changes the terrain where your microbes once thrived. It alters the conversation, and the microbes, in turn, respond. They release signals of their own, some that soothe, others that stoke the fire. Some bacteria help buffer the effects of cortisol. They produce calming compounds, short-chain fatty acids, anti-inflammatory agents. Others, in a less balanced gut, can amplify the alarm, releasing toxins, fueling inflammation, disrupting the gut lining. It becomes a feedback loop. Stress changes the gut. The gut echoes the stress. You begin to wonder, can peace begin with digestion? The answer, quietly, is yes. When your gut is nourished with fiber, with diversity, with rest, your microbes are better prepared to soften cortisol's blow. They produce more butyrate, a molecule that soothes the gut lining and calms immune responses. They help regulate the vagus nerve, sending messages of safety back to the brain. And your brain listens. You learn that resilience isn't about never feeling stress. It's about recovering, about rebounding, about having a microbiome that knows how to help you return to balance. You remember the meals that left you bloated, uneasy, and how those days felt more chaotic. You remember the meals that grounded you, warm, colorful, whole, and how they brought a kind of quiet strength. Food is part of the equation, but so is breath. Breath signals safety. When you inhale deeply and exhale slowly, you stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode, the mode that calms cortisol, that restores gut flow, that invites balance back in. Even the way you move matters. Gentle walking, stretching, touching the earth. These are not small acts. They are messages to your body. You are safe. You are held in sleep, precious sleep. Cortisol can rob you of it, but your microbes can help restore it. When in balance, they support melatonin production, the hormone of rest. They quiet the mind through chemistry. You notice that stress isn't just mental, it's microbial, and that managing stress isn't just about thinking differently, it's about tending to your inner soil. When you soothe your gut, you change your mind. You begin to view stress not as failure, but as a signal, a request for support, for nourishment, for stillness. You no longer chase calm, you create it through rituals, through food, through breath, through kindness to yourself. Even your thoughts play a role. Harsh self-talk keeps cortisol high. Compassionate thoughts release oxytocin, a calming hormone. Your inner dialogue changes your internal chemistry. You are not powerless in the face of stress. You are a co-creator of your inner weather. Your microbes, though tiny, are loyal allies. They work constantly, adjusting to what you give them. Respond to stress with resilience if you give them the tools: prebiotics, rest, diversity, presence, and slowly. The feedback loop softens. Stress rises, but your gut buffers it. You return. You become a master of this dance. Cortisol still visits, but it doesn't stay. Because now your body knows the way home. The way back to calm isn't a mystery. It's a practice, a pattern, a remembering. You create moments of slowness. You sip warm tea. You walk in soft light. You speak gently to your own nervous system, and your gut listens. Your microbes flourish. Your brain hears safety in every signal. Cortisol lowers. Healing begins. This is the science of softness, of tending, of tuning in. You are not broken by stress. You are shaped by it, and you can shape it back. Each time you rest, each time you nourish. Each time you forgive, you change your biology. Cortisol may be the alarm, but you are the response. And now, as you lie in the hush of evening, you feel it, the shift, the quiet, the return. You begin to see stress not just as threat, but as teacher. It teaches you where you are tight, tender, where you are ready to soften, and as you soften, your gut blooms. Your microbes thrive. Your mind becomes a more spacious place. You exhale. You let the alarm fade, and just ahead, another rhythm awaits, the one that shapes your appetite, your cycles, your inner timekeeper. But for now, feel this safety in your belly, steadiness in your breath. Let your body settle into its own quiet wisdom. Let your microbes take their place at the table of peace. Let the dialogue between gut and brain unfold gently. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where your healing begins. And within that healing, the whisper of a rhythm, steady and ancient, pulses quietly, ready to guide you through the tides of inner time. Asterisk, asterisk, in imbalances, you find hidden origins of anxiety, depression, and fatigue. The gut-brain axis falters when its microbial orchestra plays out of tune. And still, the question lingers. Is sadness sometimes born in the belly? And just ahead, another rhythm awaits, the one that shapes your appetite, your cycles, your inner timekeeper. But for now, feel this, safety in your belly, steadiness in your breath. Let your body settle into its own quiet wisdom. Let your microbes take their place at the table of peace. Let the dialogue between gut and brain unfold gently. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where your healing begins. And within that healing, the whisper of a rhythm, steady and ancient pulses quietly, ready to guide you through the tides of inner time. But what happens when that rhythm falters? When the orchestra of your gut microbes falls out of tune? The song of your mind can shift. You don't always notice it at first. Maybe a heaviness when you wake, a dimming of colors, a quiet fog that won't lift. And while your mind searches for reasons, your gut may be quietly calling out, because mood does not live in isolation. It is woven into your biology, your hormones, your habits, and your microbes. Tonight, you begin to see sadness differently, not just as emotion, but as information, as signal, as something that may begin not in your thoughts, but in your stomach. The microbiome, this complex, unseen garden within you, is a key player in your emotional world. When balanced, it is generous, producing serotonin, calming inflammation, supporting the vagus nerve, regulating your sleep. But when disrupted, that same garden can grow wild or barren, sending stress signals, disrupting neurotransmitter production, weakening the gut lining, and letting in confusion and fatigue. This is the gut-brain axis out of harmony, and it can echo as anxiety, as depression, as a sense that something is off. Though you can't name it, you may recall times when sadness arrived without warning, times when fear rose for no clear reason, times when motivation dissolved into fatigue, and you blamed your mind. But tonight, you wonder, what if the mind was only listening faithfully to the gut? Scientific studies now trace connections between microbial imbalances and mood disorders. Reduced microbial diversity has been observed in people with depression. Elevated inflammatory markers, a product of microbial shifts, appear more often in those struggling with anxiety. In these patterns, a new picture emerges, one where emotional pain and microbial imbalance share the same root. It doesn't mean your feelings aren't real. They are, deeply. But it may mean your sadness has a landscape, a biology, and that landscape includes trillions of tiny lives living within you. These microbes don't judge you. They don't demand happiness. They respond to stress, to sugar, to loneliness, to fiber, to kindness. Their world shifts as yours does, and as they change, so do you. Cytokines, immune messengers influenced by gut bacteria, can influence neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. Inflammatory cytokines, when elevated, can reduce the availability of serotonin. They may alter dopamine pathways too, flattening motivation and reward. Even short-chain fatty acids, those soothing postbiotics like butyrate, are less available in a disrupted gut, and without them, the gut lining becomes vulnerable. The barrier between the digestive tract and the bloodstream becomes more permeable. A condition often called leaky gut. This allows inflammatory substances to enter circulation further, affecting brain chemistry. The cycle continues. Imbalance creates inflammation. Inflammation affects neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters influence mood. Mood changes behavior. Behavior changes the gut. You see now how circular it is, not linear, not blame-based. Just a conversation, sometimes misunderstood. And so, when sadness rises, you begin to ask different questions. Not what is wrong with me, but what might be out of tune. Not why can't I feel better, but what support does my inner garden need? You remember meals that dulled your brightness, sleepless nights that soured your mood, loneliness that flattened your appetite. And in this remembering, you begin to understand. Your gut is not separate from your story. You are not weak for feeling low. You are not broken. You are in dialogue, even when the words are hard to hear. And healing, you learn, is not about fixing emotions. It's about creating conditions for your inner systems to remember balance. Prebiotics. The fibers that feed good bacteria become love letters to your microbiome. Probiotics, the live bacteria in fermented foods, introduced gently. Polyphenols from colorful fruits. Omega-3s, south from seeds and fish, all nourish the conversation within. You begin tending to your gut, not just for digestion, but for mood. You eat slowly, chewing mindfully. You pause before rushing. You listen when your belly tightens with stress and when you feel low. You let that be a message, not a verdict. Maybe today's sadness is yesterday's imbalance. Maybe today's fog is your body asking for rhythm again. Sleep, warmth, a walk, a rest. You start noticing when you feel safest, when your belly is calm, when your meals are colorful, when your breath is long. These moments are clues. They are openings. You may still have hard days. Everyone does. But now you meet them differently. You ask not just what's wrong, but what's needed. Sometimes the answer is in the gut. Sometimes sadness is not just emotional. It's microbial, it's nutritional, it's hormonal, and it's changeable. This is not about bypassing therapy or avoiding the mind. It is about expanding your map, seeing that the mind is not alone, that healing can begin in the smallest places, in cells, in molecules, in quiet meals. You lie here now, still, listening, feeling, and you realize that the path to emotional wellness might begin with listening inward, not just to your thoughts, but to your inner soil. You are not just one thing. You are a chorus. And even if one voice falters, the others can help restore the song. Your microbes do not need perfection. They need rhythm, gentleness, sleep, a chance to bloom again. So tonight, as you rest, you offer them that chance. A warm belly, a quiet mind, a breath that says, "We're okay now." You begin to wonder about memory, not just the kind that lives in your head, but the kind your body carries. The way the gut remembers patterns, repeats them, stores them. Could it be that memory, too, is shaped by the microbiome? That what you recall, what you forget, what you attach meaning to, is colored, in part, by the tiny lives within you. And as your mind wanders gently through these questions, you consider the next horizon, not just how microbes influence your mood, but how they may also shape your memories both joyful and painful, sharp and soft. You are ready to explore this. Slowly, gently, and ahead lies another unfolding. The mystery of your memory, of how your microbes shape not just how you feel, but what you remember. But for now, rest here. With this knowing, asterisk, asterisk, your gut remembers what your brain forgets. Microbes adapt to your habits, storing emotional echoes in their chemical signatures. You are shaped not just by experience, but by digestion. In your microbiome lives an archive of feeling. That what you recall, what you forget, what you attach meaning to, is colored, in part, by the tiny lives within you. And as your mind wanders gently through these questions, you consider the next horizon, not just how microbes influence your mood, but how they may also shape your memories, both joyful and painful, sharp and soft. You are ready to explore this slowly, gently, and ahead lies another unfolding, the mystery of your memory, of how your microbes shape not just how you feel, but what you remember. But for now, rest here. With this knowing, you begin again tonight, from that quiet place behind your eyes, the one where thoughts are softer, where breaths stretches long and low, where your body opens like a book, waiting to be read. And deep within, below your awareness, your microbiome stirs. These microbes, so small, so ancient, do not forget easily. They have lived with you through every season of your life. Every illness, every joy, every heartbreak, every shift in diet, in routine, in rhythm. And though they do not have memory in the way your mind does no stories, no names, no photographs, they hold something deeper, a felt sense, a biochemical trace. You begin to see memory not just as a mental archive, but as a full-body imprint. When you think of childhood, you don't just remember the images. You remember the smells, the tastes, the way your belly felt, the warmth of soup on cold nights, the tightening of your stomach before exams, the flutter of joy after laughter. These are microbial memories, too, because the gut remembers pattern. It remembers inflammation. It remembers peace. It remembers hunger and safety and threat, and it responds, not with words, but with chemistry, with molecules, with shifts in the terrain of your internal world. Researchers now explore this idea, that the microbiome, shaped by your life, can in turn shape what you remember. That gut inflammation can impair memory recall. That microbial diversity can enhance cognitive clarity. That changes in gut flora can affect the hippocampus, the part of your brain most tied to memory, and beyond the science. There's something poetic here, a sense that your body, in all its complexity, is listening, holding, storing. That what you eat, how you feel, what you survive, these things leave traces not only in your neurons, but in your microbes. You may begin to understand why some memories come with sensation, why heartbreak can feel like nausea, why grief can settle into the belly, why joy feels like warmth in your core. It is all connected. Your microbes are part of the emotional recording. Even your routines shape them. The time you eat, the foods you choose, the rhythm of sleep and wake. When these patterns are disrupted, memory, too, may falter. Focus may blur. Emotional resilience may wane. You begin to tend to your internal rhythm, not just for health, but for recall, for presence, for clarity. You notice that fermented foods, rich in probiotics, seem to sharpen your awareness, that fiber-rich meals steady your energy, that moments of gratitude improve not just your mood, but your digestion. And you wonder, is memory also a digestive process? A slow, internal metabolizing of emotion and experience. In traditional wisdom, the gut has always been honored as a center of knowing. Go with your gut, we say. And now, science begins to echo this intuition. The enteric nervous system, your second brain, holds more neurons than the spinal cord. It thinks, it feels, it remembers, and your microbes are part of this thinking. They help regulate neurotransmitters like GABA, which calms anxiety, and serotonin, which brightens mood. These chemicals, in turn, affect how memory is stored. Trauma may interrupt these flows. Chronic stress may dysregulate the balance, and yet healing remains possible through food, through rest, through the repatterning of your internal ecosystem. You don't need to force it. You need only offer your body what it recognizes as safety. Warm foods, deep breaths, gentle routines, nature, laughter, fiber, fermentation, stillness. These become your tools, your practices, your rituals. You may notice that some memories soften when the gut heals, that old stories, once sharp with pain, now feel distant, less charged, that clarity returns not in a rush, but in waves. You understand now that healing is not linear. It is microbial, rhythmic, relational. The gut does not hurry. It rebuilds, one molecule at a time, and so you rebuild with it. You drink water when you wake. You chew slowly. You sleep when tired. You offer kindness to yourself when the world does not dot, and as you do, your microbes listen. They shift. They bloom. They whisper back through chemistry and calm. You are co-creating a new memory landscape, one where food is not fear, where emotions move like whether real, but passing. One where you can trust your gut again, tonight. As you settle deeper, you feel this trust return. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but gently. Like a tide. You begin to wonder, if the gut remembers so much, could it also be where forgiveness lives? Could peace begin, not just in the mind, but in the belly? Could your microbes be rewriting not just your biology, but your biography? Maybe the feelings you buried did not disappear. Maybe they fermented, softened, transformed. Maybe your gut is not just the end of the digestive tract. Maybe it is the start of emotional processing. You begin to notice that even silence feels different now, more spacious, more intelligent. A stillness filled with microscopic conversation. And you remember that healing doesn't always speak loudly. It often whispers in bowel movements, in cravings, in the sudden absence of pain. You start listening in those spaces. You notice when you feel safe again in your body. You stop chasing answers and begin recognizing patterns. You stop labeling memories as good or bad and begin feeling their textures. You realize your gut does not forget the way the mind does. It archives feeling. It metabolizes memory. It reshapes mood, and tonight you feel all of it in harmony. That low hum inside. That warmth after breath. That quiet pulsing in your center. This is not just digestion. This is remembering. This is healing. And still, the story continues. The gut, the brain, the body, all listening, all learning. And next, a new question stirs in the dark. If the gut remembers, can it also teach? Can it guide the brain into wisdom? That is a mystery waiting to unfold. But for now, rest. You are not alone in your healing. You are remembered. You are rewriting the story. One cell at a time. Nature once nourished your gut with dirt, diversity, and fermented foods. Modern life has sterilized what was once sacred. But you can rewild your belly, replant peace, restore resilience. Inside, a forest waits to grow again. This is healing. And still, the story continues. The gut, the brain, the body, all listening, all learning. And next, a new question stirs in the dark. If the gut remembers, can it also teach? Can it guide the brain into wisdom? That is a mystery waiting to unfold. But for now, rest. You are not alone in your healing. You are remembered. You are rewriting the story, one cell at a time. Tonight, you begin again with soil beneath your thoughts. You imagine not the sterile surfaces of clinics and kitchens, but a wild meadow, soft with moss and mycelium. Humming with life, too. Small, to see. Beneath your skin, this same wildness wants to return. It longs to remember how to grow untamed, unedited, deeply alive. Your gut is an ecosystem, a rainforest, a reef. Once it was richly biodiverse, filled with microbes gifted by the earth. You crawled as a child through dust, played with pets, tasted life with your bare hands. Your ancestors ate with dirt on their vegetables and shared food around open flames. Their bellies bloomed with bacteria that sang the songs of resilience. But somewhere along the road to modernity, this inner forest was cleared. Antibacterial soaps, overused antibiotics, ultra-processed meals, paved cities, and filtered air. We disinfected the world outside, and in doing so, disrupted the world within. Your microbiome became a garden gone quiet. Many species vanished. Diversity thinned. The orchestra of bacteria that once played in symphony now sounds sparse, tired. And with that silence came more than digestive woes, came anxiety, depression, inflammation, fatigue. But nature has not abandoned you. She waits, patient, gentle, willing to return, if you open the gates. And so you do, not with force, but with invitation. You begin to rewild. You walk barefoot when you can. Let the earth speak through your souls. You open windows, let air and light touch your space. You add sauerkraut to your plate, kefir to your mornings, kimchi to your rice. Each fermented food is a whisper from the past, an offering of microbes to reseed what was lost. You remember that real food rots, that life and decay are not enemies, but partners. You welcome prebiotic fibers, garlic, onions, bananas, asparagus, the food your good bacteria crave. You feed them not just to feel full, but to feel whole, and slowly they respond. New strains bloom, forgotten pathways reawaken. Short-chain fatty acids like butyrate begin to flow again, calming your inflammation, soothing your nerves. Your gut, once stripped, becomes lush again. But rewilding is not just about food. It's about rhythm, sunlight, sleep, song. The gut thrives on pattern and variety, on exposure to the messiness of life. You step outside more. You garden. You pet your dog and thank her for the microbes she gives you with every lick and cuddle. You begin to see nature not as something outside you, but inside. That your gut bacteria are as wild, as wise, as worthy of reverence as a forest full of deer and dandelions. The old ways return in small acts. You ferment your own yogurt. Let vegetables brine in your kitchen like old-world magic. You swap screen time for sunset, busyness for breath. And though the world outside still hums with hurry, Inside, you reclaim slowness. Science supports what your body already knows. Contact with soil, with animals, with diverse food and environments reintroduces beneficial microbes. Exposure, not avoidance, is the path back to strength. Sterility is not safety. Diversity is dot. You think now of your ancestors, how they lived close to land, how children played in the dirt, how foods bubbled in clay jars, how air flowed freely through wooden homes. Their guts carried strains you may never recover, but some remain, hidden, waiting, and in nurturing them, you remember yourself. You notice your cravings change, your sleep deepens, your thoughts feel steadier. The rewilding within is slow, subtle, sacred. This is not a diet, not a protocol. It's a relationship with your body, with the world, with the tiny beings who call your belly home. You no longer seek perfection. You seek participation to live a little messier, a little closer to the source. You understand now that your gut is not just a place of digestion. It is a listening organ, an interpreter of the environment. When you eat from the earth speaks back through your microbes, your hormones, your mood. This chapter of healing is not about reclaiming control. It is about remembering connection, and slowly, your gut becomes a garden again. Not perfectly pruned, but alive, diverse, dynamic. You find joy in small things, dirt under your fingernails, the fizz of homemade pickles, the comfort of a hearty stew. These are not trends. They are memories of a time when healing was communal, sensory, felt, and in rewilding your belly, you rewild your mind. You feel less fragile, more rooted. You remember that your strength has always been microbial, blooming quietly below awareness. The forest inside you is returning. The soil within grows deeper. Your body reclaims its ancient memory, layer by layer. One fermented bite, one barefoot walk, one breath in open air. Even grief finds its place in this inner garden, because healing isn't about erasing what hurts. It's about composting it, giving pain a place to soften, to transform. Your microbes know this wisdom. They take what's hard to digest and make it into nourishment. So you release the illusion of control. You offer your gut not rules, but reverence. You cultivate not just health, but relationship. You no longer chase balance. You invite it. You speak gently to your belly. You trust its slow answers. You learn to ask it questions you once gave only to your mind. And in the stillness, it responds, not in words, but in ease, in warmth, in deepened sleep and softened thought, even your breath begins to change, deeper, slower, as if you're whole. Being remembers that there is no need to rush healing, no need to force it into linear timelines or quick fixes. Growth, like nature, is circular, and the circle returns you to the beginning, to the soil, the sun, the breath, the bite, to the simplest things, the sacred things. You feel the fullness of this rewilding, not as a goal, but as a rhythm. Some days you forget, some days you stray. That's okay. Wildness welcomes you back again and again. You are not broken. You are blooming, and just ahead, a deeper question emerges. If your microbes carry memory, and if nature can restore them, could they also carry wisdom? Could the gut, when rewilded, become a guide, a teacher? That is a question for another night. But for now, rest. Feel the soil beneath your skin. Feel the garden inside. You are not sterile. You are wild. You are home. Asterisk, you end where you began, with wonder. Two brains, two voices, yours and the microbial chorus. Are your feelings purely yours or shared with unseen life inside you? You fall asleep to this question, still unanswered, still beautiful, and just ahead. A deeper question emerges. If your microbes carry memory, and if nature can restore them, could they also carry wisdom? Could the gut, when rewilded, become a guide, a teacher? That is a question for another night. But tonight, this question deepens. You close your eyes, but your mind stays open. You feel it, that strange awareness in your belly. Not pain, not hunger, just a hum, like someone softly knocking from within. It's not your brain that stirs first. It's something lower, quieter, older. Science has a name for it: the enteric nervous system. A mesh of over 500 million neurons wrapped around your intestines, stretching through your digestive tract like roots of a secret tree. They call it the second brain, but it was the first to form in the womb. This brain doesn't think in words. It speaks in feeling, tension, calm, fullness, emptiness, a flutter before a decision, a sinking during heartbreak, a lightness during laughter. Of gut feelings, you've used the words without thinking, but maybe they were never metaphor. Maybe your gut has been trying to talk to you all along. And tonight, you listen. You wonder now, what is a thought? Where does it begin? Is it only electrical fire in the skull? Or is it a chorus of signals traveling from your core? You imagine your two brains, cranial and enteric, sitting across from each other like old friends, passing messages through the vagus nerve. Their golden bridge. Sometimes the messages are clear. a sense of danger, a moment of calm. Other times, they're foggy, misfiring, when inflammation clouds the conversation, or when dysbiosis mutes the tone. But even in the static, the dialogue remains. Your microbes are part of this council. They release neurotransmitters. They craft serotonin, dopamine, GABA. They whisper into your mood, your sleep, your cravings. Not as puppeteers, but as partners, as composers in the music of self. You are not one voice. Of how much of you is truly you? And the question softens, not into fear, but into reverence. Because even if your decisions are co-authored by bacteria, does that make them less yours or more deeply human? To be human is not to be isolated. It is to be shared with air, with soil, with other souls, seen and unseen. You wonder now if perhaps your truest wisdom doesn't arise from the mind alone, but from the body in chorus. When the gut is calm, the mind thinks clearer. When the belly is nourished, the heart feels safer. When both brains are in harmony, life feels whole, and still. Science reaches. Each year, new studies confirm what your ancestors once felt, that food is medicine, that breath is communication, that microbes are messengers, that your gut is not a tube, but a temple. You imagine now that temple lit softly from within, each bacterial cell a candle, each neuron a prayer, each breath a ritual of remembering that you are not a machine. You are a living ecosystem. You are not a single story. You are a dialogue. In this moment of rest, you feel something strange, gratitude, for the bacteria you cannot name, for the neurons that fire silently, for the rhythm of digestion, unnoticed yet essential, for the mystery that your belly has always held. You begin to wonder, what else have you missed? What other intelligence lives inside you, waiting to be heard? Perhaps your belly doesn't just digest life. Perhaps it interprets it. Perhaps it decides what to keep, what to transform, what to let go. Not just with food, but with memories, with meaning you feel. The second brain thinking now, not logically, not with language, but with deep, intuitive truth. It doesn't argue. It doesn't panic. It doesn't spiral into loops. It listens. It steadies. It senses. And you realize this is the part of you that remains when all else overwhelms. This is the part that says, slow down. This is the part that says, you're safe. This is the part that says, begin again. You lie there, quiet, a little awed. You are both the observer and the observed, the host and the home, the consciousness and the cradle. And with that knowing the world feels softer, not solved, but softened. You are allowed to not know. You are allowed to be led, and maybe, in time, you'll stop seeing your gut as beneath you and start seeing it as beside you. A companion, a compass, a keeper of stories, too old for words. So tonight, you end with the same mystery you began with. Who's really thinking? And the answer, if there is one, doesn't come in a sentence. It comes in a silence, a breath, a belly that softens, a trust in something unseen, your second brain, your shared self, your quiet, microbial wisdom. And maybe, if you listen long enough, you'll discover that this dialogue never ends, that the gut and the brain are writing your story together. Not in ink, but in sensation. Not in certainty, but in rhythm. The food you eat, the thoughts you hold, the sleep you allow, all of it shapes your second brain's song. Every choice is a note in your inner symphony. And maybe, when you slow down, you begin to hear it. So as you breathe now, feel the music, the soft percussion of digestion, the pulse of your heart, the rising and falling tides of breath, the stillness that isn't empty but full, full of signals, full of listening, full of you. You are not simply a thinker. You are a feeler, a sensor, a system tuned toward balance. And tonight, your body, both brains, are aligned in quiet cooperation. So you rest, not in the absence of thought, but in the presence of wholeness. Let this question live in you, gentle and luminous. Let it settle beneath thought. Let it hum softly in your gut, because there, in the quiet core of your being, something ancient still listens. Something sacred still remembers. Something soft and unseen still guides. This isn't the end, because endings are for stories that stop, and your story keeps breathing. It keeps unfolding in every cell that divides, every breath you draw, every thought you welcome or release. The second brain doesn't close books. It writes them. It remembers for you, learns for you, loves you in the way only something woven into your being can love. Quietly, steadily, without conditions. Your microbes don't ask if you're perfect. They just ask for presence, for nourishment, for balance. And when you offer that, even a little, they respond with harmony, with resilience, with songs made not of sound, but of serotonin, of immune calm, of neural grace. You are the listener and the composer both. The body is not passive in this dialogue. It sings back. It hums in reply. So even when the world outside is noise, the world within can still be melody. A melody you've always known, but forgotten how to hum. You are remembering it now, and perhaps that's what healing really means. Not fixing what's broken, but tuning in to what's been singing underneath all along. So breathe once more. Let it echo through your whole being. Let it spiral into every forgotten corner. Let it stitch the spaces between your questions with warmth. Because your second brain is not waiting for you to be perfect. It's waiting for you to be present in the darkness of night, where sleep begins to pull gently at your thoughts. The second brain stays awake, not with worry, but with wisdom. It tends the garden. It balances the system. It listens as if to the stars humming behind your ribs. You are still thinking, still feeling, still becoming. Not just with your head, but with every part of you that has ever listened quietly and loved you unconditionally. So drift now, not away, but deeper in. And now, dear listener, you've reached the edge of this quiet journey. 12 chapters, 12 soft lanterns lit along a winding path each, one revealing a truth not taught in books, but remembered in the bones, in the belly, in the breath. You've wandered through forests of bacteria, listened to the golden thread of your vagus nerve, felt the rhythm of dreams shaped by unseen companions, and stood in awe before the wisdom whispered from deep within your gut. This story was never just science. It was a mirror reflecting how connected you truly are to your food, to your feelings, to the life that lives quietly inside you. And as you lie here now, in the stillness that follows understanding, may you feel held not just by your pillow or the night, but by your own body. This living, breathing constellation of cells and stories continues to whisper, even in silence. Let this curiosity walk beside you, and the next time you feel a flutter, a pang, a warmth in your belly, may it remind you that something sacred is speaking. You are not a machine. You are not broken. You are alive, wildly, deeply, beautifully alive. And your body remembers the way back to balance. So rest now, with your microbes gently humming, your breath a quiet tide, and your second brain singing lullabies in silence. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for more stories. Forget to subscribe.